You're listening to Finish the Damn Book, the podcast for procrastinators. Susie Schaefer, known as the Book Doula, works with authors and publishing professionals to turn stories into movements that make an impact.
Welcome to this episode of Finish the Damn Book. I'm your host, Susie Schaefer. Rachel Allen is a fast-thinking, deeply nerdy marketer with a broad-ranging experience for nonprofit and not-for-profit sectors. She's written for some of the biggest and smallest names in the business and excels in marketing that's equal parts data-driven and human-centered. Having run a marketing business for 16 years with clients in over 21 countries, Rachel's written for some of the top names in entrepreneurship as well as influencers, brick and mortar businesses, and nonprofits around the world. Her work has contributed directly to high ROI launches, leaps in audience engagement, industry awards, relationships with top venture capital firms, and national level honors. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love all those accolades in your bio.
Oh, thank you. I teach a bio workshop, and that's what I'm always telling people because they're always like, "Oh, I'm a person and I do something and it's not all that great. Don't pay attention to me." And I'm like, "Nope, just say the thing. If you did it, you could say it."
Absolutely. So good for you. Let's first define copywriting.
Yes.
There always seems to be some confusion around this for what that really entails. You've got the floor. Have at
Yeah.
it.
So copywriting at its core is leveraging language to make it easy for people to say yes to something. And what that looks like practically is that could be web pages, that could be brochures, it could be emails, it could be any number of things, but it's copy or it's words that are like directed towards a certain end of having someone change their mind about something, buy something, take some kind of action that you're encouraging them towards with the words.
Okay. That is probably the best definition I've ever heard because
Oh,
it
thanks.
really simplifies it. It's
Yeah.
leading the reader to take an action.
Yes, exactly. And I think people overcomplicate it and get all like LinkedIn speaky about it. And I'm like, no, it's just like we're people. It's just saying, hey, do you want to do this thing? Here's why you should.
Yeah. Here's the benefits. Like just
Yeah.
click the button.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I love that. Okay, great. So let's talk about some of the top reasons that books don't get published or the
Yes.
author doesn't finish their book.
Yes. Oh, I love talking about this because in addition to doing my marketing work, I have a bunch of clients who came to me kind of on the down low and said, "Hey, I really want to write a book. Can you help?" And I'm like, "Who, me? I could not possibly." But then I ended up really loving it. And so I help people with their books as well. And many of them come to me unable to finish it because they haven't done the thinking work before they write the book. They get excited. I'm sure you see this with your clients as well. They get excited. They jump in. They get like, I don't know, 4,000 words in, and then they're like, "Oh, but where do I go from here?" And then you get mired down and you end up being like, "Well, does this thing belong in chapter 3 or chapter 25? Let me think about it for 7 years." And it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really good point to make. And this is why my company is called Finish the Book Publishing.
Yeah.
I want to propel them forward to getting that book done. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's a matter of them getting out of their own way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering, do you see a lot of people as well who, like, it comes down to mindset stuff of, like, they wanna write the book, but there's something they're afraid to say, or, like, the book tracks along with their personal development?
Absolutely. I think there's an underlying feeling of unworthiness, or there might be something in their childhood saying, "Hey, you sit down and shut up." And
Yeah.
who are you to say this? Who are you to write a book? And so
Mhm.
those kinds of things that we were taught as children or that came up in even our professional lives, we have to go back and look at those things and heal them. And that's the beauty of writing a book, is that you can work through a lot of that stuff while you're writing it. Hopefully you've done some work before you
Yeah.
get there, because it's not necessarily meant to be therapy, although it can be very therapeutic in the long
Yes.
run, the journey of writing.
Yeah, I do a lot of work on memoir with people, and I write a memoir of my own, and it is definitely a personal development journey, whether you want it to be or not. Stuff is going to come up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is why it's really important to work with a great editor,
Yes.
because working through all those issues can sometimes be like, okay, we need to take a pause on that so you can kind of work through that. And let's move on
Yeah.
to this section of the book, or let's work on some of these other concepts. It's part of the process. And I hate using those words, but at the same time, it's so true.
Yeah, and it's just I don't think you can leapfrog it. I've seen clients try to do that where they're like, "I will just shove this down and, it won't come out." And then all of a sudden they're writing a chapter and that thing keeps popping back up. And so it's like, "Look, you might as well just eat the frog and address it and be like, "Well, I don't like this about myself, but here we go." And just
Exactly.
get into it and get done.
Yeah. Now, how do you think that aspect of working through issues and things like that comes back to the copywriting stuff?
Mm. Well, copywriting doesn't work unless you are clear and confident in what you're saying. So, one of the main reasons any kind of writing fails is because you have a felt sense of what you want to say, but you're unable to articulate it. And I think we've all felt that very frustrating thing of like, oh, it's important because it is.
That's good.
Yes, true.
Hard because it is.
Right. Or, I mean, I'll even have people ask me, "What are you doing?" I don't know, "I write stuff," or something, and I have to consciously practice it and be, "Oh, no, this is all this stuff that I do." I think that, both in books and in copywriting, it's all about getting clear on the overall message, which is another reason I think books flounder is because people think they know the message, and then they get into it, and maybe they find that they're writing something else that they didn't expect, and they're like, "Oh, but my thesis was this. How do I square these things?" And then you really have to go back to the beginning and what are we actually saying here?
Yeah. And I think that goes hand in hand with being authentic. And
Yeah.
I feel like that is it's kind of a buzzword right now, but at the same
Mhm.
time, there's a lot of truth around that. Like if you're not going to be fully authentic, then your writing is going to fall flat. It's using AI. It's just
Yeah.
flat. It doesn't have the soul to it, right? And the
Yeah.
same thing comes when you're writing your book. If you're going to skirt around issues and you're not going to talk about your own personal transformation and development, then your readers are gonna be like, "Yeah, boring, it's blah, blah, blah. I've read this before."
Yeah. Exactly. Like we've all I have a list in my brain of like this book could have been a blog post. And a
Yeah,
lot of those are that because there's no human in it. If I just want the information, like give me a bullet pointed list. But if I'm gonna read a book, I have to have a human in it.
exactly. It has to capture your attention just like the reason that we go and watch movies. It has to
Yeah.
be compelling to make you stay in your seat in the theater versus just getting up and walking out. It's the same
Mhm.
with books.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, even I think people think if they're writing, like, just a pure business book, like, "Oh, I can just share the information and I don't have to be in it." Falsehoods, like, you have to be in it. It's gonna be so boring if you're like, "Here are the 5 things I do to whatever, develop my business." I don't care unless I know why you care.
Exactly. And how did you arrive at those 5 things?
Yeah, exactly.
What happened in your life, personal, professional, or otherwise, that made you decide that those 5 things were important?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think getting clear is the biggest roadblock to so many authors.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard to do by yourself. You can get there, but that's why it's so important to get support, like, from a publisher, from an editor, somebody who can see you from the outside and be, "Okay, this is what I'm seeing. Does that resonate with you?"
Yeah. Yeah, and I think once an author gets clear on that and they have the right editors to work with and they can kind of formulate, "Okay, now I understand the why behind it," then it
Yeah.
propels them forward to actually finishing their book.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found that a lot of times people wanna skip over that because 'cause they're not like, "I'm not gonna write my why in the intro of the book perhaps," but if you don't know it, the whole book like, it's like the foundation is off. It just feels weird. It's hard to write.
Exactly, and I think that if an author really wants to do a good job on it, they need to literally write their why on a whiteboard so that they
Yes.
see it every single day. You have to
Mhm.
keep coming back to that.
Yep, I have mine as the background on my laptop, so whenever I open it up, there's an image that encapsulates the book that I'm working on, so I can't not see it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay, now on your website, there's a
Mhm.
photo, and it says, "A book is a loaded gun." What is
Yes.
the intention behind that quote and the image? Because I loved it so much.
Oh, thank you so much. So I took that photo when I was living in Washington, D.C., and it was a mural on one of the restaurants on the street where I lived. And I found it to be so powerful because people think that words are ephemeral, but they truly make the world around us. Like they're the technology through which we interact with the world. They're the technology through which influence and impact spreads. And so it really does have the same impact or even more than a loaded gun because it's that same potential. As soon as I pick it up and I read it, I can't not unknow that idea that's happened to me. And so it changes everything.
Yeah. That's such a fascinating concept, and I agree with it because it's like when you come across a car crash. Once you've seen it, you can't
Yes.
unsee it. It's
Yeah.
there, and it's embedded in the brain cells of
Hmm.
your consciousness. That's fascinating. I think that's
Yeah.
very cool. Now, you've got 2 writing groups as well. Who are
Yeah.
those writing groups designed for?
One of the writing groups is designed for people who are trying to finish their first book. A lot of people come to me, they spend an average of 7 years being like, I'm going to write a book. And it goes on and off your New Year's resolution list. And then finally something happens and it's like, okay, I can't do this by myself. So you need someone that you can come into a group with who can give you enough structure to kind of like keep you pointed in the right direction while you're doing your writing and also celebrate with you and answer questions and be there for that development. That's the one, the first book people. And then the other one is for people who are working on projects that have to do with their work. Usually they're running a business. So it could be a book. It could also be like a large podcast script, just something meaty. And they need a group of other people who are smart, dedicated, and focused on a large project so they can sort of borrow some brain power from each other. So I can show up with my thing and be like, oh, what do I do, Susie? And, we could trade that back and forth.
Yeah, I love that. Kind of a brain dump, but then problem solving and all of it kind of rolled into one.
Yeah, and support and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. So then when you work with someone, how does that look? Tell me about the process.
With books specifically, what I usually do is start with an outline. And I was actually sort of pointed in this direction by my own mastermind because they were like, people think outline means bullet points. And I was like, oh no. So what I do is I talk to people and I sort of pull all of the puzzle pieces of the book out of their head and then create what kind of ends up being like a paint by numbers of your own book. So it breaks it down into 500-word increments and is okay, for this 500 words, answer this question, tell me this story. Remember you said 1, 2, 3 was important. And then we literally move in 500-word chunks through the whole 50, 60,000 word book. So they can jump in and write whenever they want in the book. They don't have to do it sequentially, but they can know that nothing's going to be left out, nothing's going to be out of order because we've already done all the thinking and the organizing. They just have to sit down and write.
Oh, I love that process.
It's a lot of fun.
And it's so nice. You've always heard the saying, you have to eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Mhm.
The idea of eating an elephant is abhorrent to me, but regardless,
Yeah.
that saying has some truth to it because you can't sit down and expect to write a 50,000 word book in 1 or 2 sittings or even in
Yeah.
just a week. Like you have to chunk it down so that it's manageable and that your brain can actually process that as we're talking, the emotional side of
Yeah.
writing that type of content. And yeah, you're right. An author might come to the table and say, "Oh yeah, here's the business stuff. Here's the 5 bullet points that we talked
Right.
about." And I can write those no problem. Easy. But then when
Yeah.
it gets to the stuff that's a little more juicy, then they're like, "Oh, I am kind of struggling to
Yeah.
make this." So they might need a little bit more time, but the fact that they don't have to do anything in a particular order, this is
Mhm.
actually very similar to the way I work with authors if they are coming to
Nice.
me to kind of mind dump their book. But if they're coming to it and they go, "Okay, now I'm kind of ready to write this piece because this piece
Yeah.
has a little more meat to it." Yeah. I think it'll allows them to really process it more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
and to not get stuck there. I love that that's your approach as well, because I know, like, in my own experience of writing my memoir, there were a couple of pieces where if I had to get through those, I'd still be writing it. I needed to be able to get the whole thing out, and I just left a big chunk that was, "We'll come back and tell the story of blah, blah," because I just had to, like, get through my body enough to be able to actually write it.
Yeah, anything that's challenging in life is difficult to write about, especially when you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking, "People are gonna read this."
Exactly.
It's
Oh, I know, and, like, one of the
expose.
Yeah. I'm curious if you found this because with my clients and with myself, I find that the pieces that people are most afraid of writing, people like never care. The audience reads over it and they're like, "Okay, that was cool," or whatever. And you're like, I bled for this." And then it might be something else that they get really locked onto.
Exactly, and that shows up in things like reviews, where
Yes.
people were so afraid of writing about this personal situation that they came through or whatever that might be, some kind of challenge, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, people are going to rip me apart in the reviews,
Yep.
right? Because I had an opinion or because I did X, Y, and Z. And really what you're exactly right. What comes out is they talk about things like really well written. The 5 points were super helpful. And they're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's amazing the stories we tell ourselves.
I think honestly, we all get in our heads a little bit too much. We overemphasize the things that we feel are dramatic because they're impactful to us, when really
Yes.
the reader's just like, oh, this is great background to understand where this person was coming from.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if nothing else, it just shows people, oh, look, they're human too. Look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We
Mhm.
all have flaws. We all make mistakes. We hopefully we learn from those mistakes. It's the part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about intuition. So, Rachel, can you tell me a time that you may have used your intuition and it paid off and you were like, yes,
Ooh,
or possibly a time that you did not listen to your intuition and you went, wow, I should have listened to myself.
yeah. Well, I think the ones that come to mind of, "Oh, I should have known that," where I've had a couple of clients throughout the years where I was just like, I could feel, maybe I shouldn't take them on, but I sort of overrode it. What? I know I could do this work for them. I know it'll be great, whatever. Maybe I need the money, whatever the decision is. And then it just ended up being so stressful and so much more trouble than it was worth. Now I know better. And now having gone through this several times over the past, 16, 18 years, oh no, there is no amount of dollars that is worth that kind of stress and annoyance. Now I do listen to it. But one where I did listen to my intuition and I almost didn't, but it worked out. I had gone through a really dry period in my business about 5, 6 years ago. And it was to the point where I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm just going to close it down and go do something else. But I took myself off to a cabin in Mississippi for a week to think about it. And I was sunbathing and I had this thought come into my head, which was, what if I just quintupled my prices? And then I immediately thought, well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever thought about. But I was, what if? And then I thought, what's going to happen? Are people just going to not hire me even more than they're already not hiring me? What's the risk here? So I did it and it ended up really transforming my business. And now I get to work with people that I really, really love working with. And it's just much more of a win for all of us.
It's so interesting because that is one of the fundamental pieces of law of attraction, right?
Yeah.
Like when you have the self-worth to raise your or quadruple your prices, you are saying, I am worth working with. I honor myself. This is what I value. It's important. And when you send out that energy, that's what comes back to you. You work with amazing people and there are people that have like they never even questioned the price tag,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
it's a win-win, but that's really about us getting real with ourselves, that
Yeah.
authenticity about saying, hey, you know what? I'm worth this. Damn it.
Right.
Right?
And being able to receive that and hold it. I was on Cash and Sass, which is a podcast about the energetics of money a couple of months ago now. And that's what the hostess was talking about was like, yeah, you can, a lot of people are great at making the money, but can you hold it? Do you have the energetic balance to hold on to it? And I think that was a huge thing I had to learn.
Absolutely. And also understanding that money, as far as an energetic force, is a resource. Many people put
Yes.
too much weight towards the actual money piece of this. It's a resource. You use that resource in order to move your business forward, move your book forward, do whatever you have to do because it's a resource. It's like having connections and networking.
Yeah.
It's like having a computer. It's like having social media platforms. All those things are resources. So if you treat
Yes.
money as if a resource and you love and are grateful for the resources coming in, then you never have a lack of abundance. It just shows up.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it all works hand in hand when people just understand the energetics of it.
Yeah. I think it's easy, or at least it was for me. I grew up sort of like the poorest person in my peer group.
Mm.
And so there was a lot of like, oh, but can I? Oh, do I deserve? Oh, all those little like I'll just stand on the outside, don't worry about me. And then I never planned on getting into business because I'm terrible at math. And none of the women in my family are in business. And so I was like, well, there's no possible way I couldn't. And then it ended up working out so well that that was the hardest part for me was being like, wait, am I allowed to do
Yes.
this? Can I
Yes.
actually do this? And having to come to terms with that.
That's an interesting point, and I am the first entrepreneur in my family as well. I struggled with that for a while,
Yeah.
and had to really say, "You know what? I am worth this, and I am capable, and I have all this great experience and background. Why not me?" And
Right.
so, honestly, I think my family rewriting that story that was supposed to have a traditional job and work in corporate and all that stuff. When I finally shed that and got rid of the am I capable? Am I
Yeah.
allowed to do this? Asking for permission. When I got rid of all that stuff, man, my business changed overnight. And
Mhm.
suddenly I was able to do the thing where I said, "Oh, I'm going to raise my prices because I'm undervaluing the service that I provide." Those things all go hand in hand. Any of our listeners out there who are thinking about doing a book, especially in conjunction with your business, like
Mhm.
that marriage of a book and a business will actually set you apart. And it's you telling the universe, I am worth it. I do have
Yeah.
knowledge and experience that I can share with others and monetize it because that,
Mhm.
again, you're creating a resource to bring in more resources, bring in more clients, bring in the types of clients you want to work with. When you get all those things connected, literally you can be unstoppable.
Before we move on, I want to say something to you directly. If you've been carrying the idea of a book for a while, there's a reason it hasn't been finished yet. Not because you can't do it, but because trying to do it alone keeps you in the same loop, thinking about it, starting and stopping, second guessing what comes next. That's the gap I help close. Inside Finish the Book Publishing, I work with you to take what you've started or what you've been holding on to and guide it all the way through to a finished, published book with clarity, direction, and real momentum. So if you're ready to move this forward, you can learn more at finishthebookpublishing.com.
Yes, I love that. And it makes me really we think of money as a resource. I think people also undervalue their voice as a resource or their story. And I think it's all the same thing, right? You're just converting from currency to currency. But so much of the struggles that I see with people not finishing books is somewhere deep down, they have this decision of my voice doesn't matter, my story doesn't matter. I'm not allowed to say it. Something bad's going to happen to me if I speak up. And you just have to be able to work around that. No, like every voice matters, and especially mine.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because we were talking at the very beginning of that about your voice mattering and the
Yeah.
words you choose matter. This is exactly why my background is blue because blue
Yeah.
represents the throat chakra, which is the energetic
Ooh.
source of sharing your voice. When
Oh,
people have a blocked throat chakra, for example, a lot of times they will get like little throat colds and they'll have a lot
yeah.
of coughing or a lot of tickle in their throat. And I say, you need to exercise that throat chakra. Go sing, strengthen it, sing,
Yeah.
wear the color blue, bring that energy into you
Yeah.
because, and you're right, it's part of not just the written words, but the spoken words as well. This is part of, again, that energetic connection. And you have to get clear and you have to get authentic with who you are and what you stand
Yeah.
for, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing.
Right.
And so all of that stuff is connected. And I think when people start to understand that, they're gonna be able to make strides much faster and much more, um, authentically and in a zone that's feels like comfort for them.
Yes, I love that because when you do have all of that aligned, it doesn't feel like you're straining your voice. You're not shouting. You're just saying what comes naturally.
Exactly. Yes, sometimes the quiet voice is loudest in the room.
Yes. Oh, I love that. My introverted heart is so happy to hear that.
Seriously, I am too, and I'm kind of a natural introvert, really, because I do love my alone time. But at the same time, I enjoy these types of conversations where it really gets you
Yeah.
thinking and gets the juices flowing because we do need to have interaction with other humans. That's part of our nature. When you get to have fun conversations, it feels expansive and everything's growing and moving in the right direction.
Yes, exactly. And more possibility, right? Because I come with my own sort of package of possibility. You have yours. We put those together and we become more than the sum of our parts.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Rachel, you have a memoir coming up, a
Yes.
release coming up. Is this your
Mhm.
first book and what is it about?
Yes. So it's my first book. The title is called Batshit, and I call it my story of going sane.
I used to use batshit crazy to
Yeah.
describe people when they were batshit crazy, right?
Mhm. Well, I was raised by white nationalists, and I just could not bring myself to believe this very alt right mentality, but everyone around me did. And so I thought I was literally insane.
Mm.
I left that situation pretty abruptly, I guess I would say, with no contact and had a mental breakdown and had to sort of repiece my psyche together of like, how am I going to survive outside of this system in which I was raised? what does that even mean? What do I believe? How do I know what reality is? And so it's the story of how I was raised in that, moved all over the world, and ended up coming home to myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And I love the authenticity of that. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yes. And honestly, there are so many people that have been raised in communities, families, situations that they are now finding themselves breaking free of the
Yes.
programming and the conditioning or the general environment that they did not feel connected to and felt like, oh wow, I feel totally opposite of these people. And so
Yeah.
I've got to figure out what's my belief system because I was given a belief system and really that doesn't fit for me anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And who am I outside of that? How do I even exist in this world where there's not this all consuming belief system?
Yeah, interesting. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you using as your author name on the book, are you using Rachel Allen or are you using a middle name or initial?
So I use my middle name, Rachel Catherine Allen, mostly because there's an Irish chef named Rachel Allen who has all the domain names with only my two names.
Yes, and that's what I was going to ask you about because
Yeah.
when I went on Amazon to find you, there's a chef there with the same
Yeah.
name. Thank goodness you had the wherewithal to figure that out and be like, I'm using my middle name. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've used it for basically all of my business stuff, which is unfortunate because it makes all my domain names crazy long. I figure it's easier to find me that way.
it is. And it's very smart because again, it's connecting to your brand and
Yeah.
people are going to have an easier time finding you. It just makes a lot of sense. So I love
Yeah.
that. How do you feel about us pulling some cards?
I would love that.
Okay. You are welcome to ask a question for yourself,
Hmm.
or you can ask a question about what you think our audience needs to hear. It
Hmm.
can be very generic. It's really up to you. You feel free to do what you want.
Yeah. No, I really actually like that. I think maybe the question is like, what's the most important message right now?
Oh, that's so perfect. What's the most
Hmm.
important message right now? Let's just see. Okay, so the first card out is a 23 card. So 2 plus 3 is a 5. 5
Okay.
is the number of change. So
Hmm.
I love this card so much. The card is peace. And you can see
Ooh.
on the card, there is a dove
Yeah.
with an olive branch saying
Oh,
that there
beautiful.
is peace coming in, coming to
Yeah.
you. But just expect in order to get to this place of peace, there will be change. Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's also an egg. An egg
Mm.
represents creation, fertility, birth of new ideas, all
Mm.
those things. So it's saying there's going to be change, but use it to inspire yourself because when you
Yeah.
inspire yourself, it will lead you towards that peace. When you know something is right, and I'm sure you've experienced this with your business as well. When
Yeah.
you just know, like you just know in your heart, in your soul that something is right, it brings you that sense of peace. So
Yeah.
it's coming, but we may
Mm.
have some challenges or things a lot around that change that may be difficult. So
Yeah.
the next card is a 29, which reduces to an 11. So 11 is about fate and destiny. And this
Ooh.
card is breathe. So you can
Ooh.
see the image. She's an angel that's sitting like
Yeah.
on a little cloud, but she's meditating. There's lots of
Yeah.
stars around her. So the stars represent angels, guides, passed on loved ones. I'm
Mm.
getting Irish sprites as well. So
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
She's got a blindfold on and she's got
Mm.
a crown on her head. So she's really tapping into the upper chakras, the crown
Mm.
chakra. And
Yeah.
sometimes with our eyes closed, it opens up our third eye, right? So
Right.
allowing that to happen. But what's really interesting is the color of the card is blue. And we were just talking about
Mm.
throat chakra. So
Yeah.
I love when the cards will actually bring us back to our conversation before we even pull the cards. And the
Yeah.
card itself is breathe. So it's saying, just
Mm.
take a breath, take a moment, sit in meditation, allow yourself to connect to your higher wisdom and connect
Mm.
to your source, whether that's God, spirit, universe, whatever that might be, and
Yeah.
just breathe.
Yeah.
I'm getting the Faith Hill song in my head. Um,
Mm.
yeah, so because these things are coming, but sometimes, especially when we have right now, things like feel like they're ginned up and that time is moving
Yeah.
very fast. Actually, as we're recording this, we're heading into a new moon in Taurus this weekend. And Taurus is really about comfort And so it's
Right.
saying you will have that, but we may go through some challenging times. And generally, in a new moon, it's about us calling in energy to manifest and to create what we want
Right.
to. But this particular new moon is a very it feels very dark as far as the energy goes. So it's
Yeah.
also about us letting go of things and kind of transforming that dark energy into something more positive. It's about us saying,
Mm.
you know what, that's the old me. That no longer serves me. I'm letting that go. I'm really stepping into, oh, and this is interesting. I was going to say new life. The card that I pulled is a 12 card. So the 12 can reduce to 3 because the card itself is 39.
Mm-hmm.
3 is the teacher, is about teaching.
Mm.
The card I pulled is new life. So we're
Oh, wow.
stepping into a new life,
Yeah.
right? Stepping
Wild.
into a new life. And so it's saying embrace that. Like the image is that
Yeah.
she's on this pedestal and she's stretching
Mm.
like she's good morning stretch.
Yeah.
And it's really saying we're about to go through something um very profound, I feel. And what's
Mm.
interesting is both of these two cards have the peace card and new life card. They have this
Yeah.
banner at the top, which is for me, it's a representation of past lives. So it's saying
Mm.
we've been through challenges and changes before. But
Yeah.
the way we get through it is just to breathe, is to do that time
Mm.
with yourself, honoring yourself, meditate, and also be clear about what you're speaking, the words that you're putting out there.
Mm.
But we're stepping into a new life, and it's really your choice, because we all have free will, on how
Yeah.
you're going to navigate that change, and will you be able to find that peace. And I'm getting that yes, you can, if you go within. If you go
Yeah.
within and allow it to happen, that you'll come out the other side with a brand new life. And I'm just pulling a timing card. This says in time for Gemini season. We are,
Oh, wow. We're
which
very
is
close to that.
the end of this month.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's exciting.
My nephew and his fiance are both Geminis. So it's
Ooh.
really interesting that that's happening
Yeah.
very soon for us. So,
Yeah.
for
Right now.
listeners out
Mhm.
there, just prepare, stay grounded, stay true to yourself. And when things get challenging, just go into that meditative state and just be still. Just be still
Yeah.
and breathe. You're gonna get
Yeah.
through this. It's gonna be a bit of a bumpy ride, I'm getting, but
Mhm.
we're gonna be okay. And in fact,
Yeah.
for those people listening, this is a great time to journal what you experience,
Yes.
because we are going to go through some things I think that we have never experienced as humans, certainly not in our lifetimes. And there may be some very profound outcomes, and embrace it. Say, hey,
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm here to witness the change in our world
Mm.
and our lives and everything else. Because yeah, I think when we come out the other side, our lives are going to be completely different, and we're not going to quite know what hit us, but we're going to say, okay, I'm on board for it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. Very,
Yeah. I
looks,
love that.
it'll be so interesting to see what happens. My goodness. That's wild. I do love when the cards do reflect back on our conversation too. I feel like it's the confirmation. And of course, my phone is off during recording, but a lot of times when I'm channeling, where I'm getting messages that come in, my phone will ding, and it's always been a confirmation for me of
Yeah.
I just spoke truth, right? So I
Mhm.
have a funny feeling my phone was dinging in the background.
Yeah.
What happens there? So interesting.
I love
Any
that.
thoughts or your takeaway on that?
I think that's so how would I say this? I think it's just so spot on, right? I think so many people that I know, myself included, are in a space of transformation. And I've been speaking with so many business owners and authors, and we're in one of those phases where everyone's like, everything's falling apart, and I think it's only me. And oh no, it's
Everybody.
everybody. Everything is happening. And what I really appreciate about that reminder is just it's happened before, it's going to happen again. Just breathe. Like, we have got this. Together, we've got this.
As humans, we tend to resist change when actually,
Mhm.
when you think about it, change is the only way that we can move forward and we can grow and become better at what we do and to celebrate ourselves. Because
Mhm.
if we don't, okay, the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over and expecting something to change. We can't.
Yeah.
We have to go through this. And I feel like everything, system structures, all of it is literally crumbling down because it's no longer working for us. We have to
Yeah.
level up. Even the technology around it. Like yesterday, I told
Yeah.
you I had power outage for 10 hours. It was really fun. Yeah. And the timing was not as predicted. I just said, okay, this is interesting. It's going to be kind of a challenge, but we're going to roll with it. I also own a yoga studio and I was getting messages during the day. Are we canceling? Are we canceling class? And I said, no, we're not canceling class. I said, we don't need power to do yoga.
Yeah. 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 We know.
We're
Yeah.
showing up because, and I'm telling you what, we had one of the most fun classes. We were laughing through most of it. And when everybody left, the stress of the fact that we didn't have power was really, it just kind of dissipated. We all felt much more lighthearted
Yeah.
and like, you know what, we got this. It's fine. This is not something it's not a disaster that's happening. It's because they're doing an upgrade to our system. So
Right.
yay for us, because
Mhm.
again, that's moving us in the direction that we need to go. So
Yes.
to frame it.
Yeah, I want to pull that one phrase that you just said out, actually. This is not a disaster that's happening. We're just upgrading our system.
Everything is getting an upgrade. Us emotionally, spiritually, mentally,
Mhm.
psychologically, physically, we are getting upgrades too.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't necessarily see it all happen in one day. Like I had a 10-hour power outage in one day, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but there's also workarounds, and that's where
Right.
we have the ability with as humans to say, well, what's the workaround? So my workaround
Right.
was, since it happened earlier than I expected, I'm taking my last 2 calls in my car. So my phone is plugged in
Yeah.
and it worked. I was on
Right.
Zoom in my car, but nobody cared.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get through it. We get through it.
Yeah.
So Rachel, how can people find you and work with you? Because I love everything that you're about.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. The easiest way to find me is at boltfromthebluecopywriting.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Okay. And we will have that in our description. Bolt from the blue.
I know.
So cool.
Because of course. Yeah.
Because it just happens.
Yeah.
And, what final words of advice or words of wisdom can you give our listeners today?
I think something that I say a lot is that human is the only move left.
Mm.
And I think that so often we try to rely on things staying the same. We try to rely on external structures. We try to rely on, oh, somebody else, please tell me what to do. And just things are not working that way anymore. But everything, as you said, we figure this out together. Human is the thing that pulls you through. So the more that you can be as yourself as possible, I think that's what's needed for books. I think that's what's needed for business. I think that's what's needed for the world.
I totally agree with you. And it really does bring us back to this card of breathe,
Yes.
because when you do that, you're going to step into this new life, which is going to bring you peace. It's
Yeah.
coming. It's coming, people. Get ready.
Mm. I love it.
Rachel, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a pleasure.
And if you found this interesting, I encourage you to join me for the next episode and be sure to subscribe. Until then, keep on writing so you can finish the damn book. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Finish the Damn Book, hosted by Susie Schaefer. If you're serious about finishing the damn book and want to explore what that could look like for you, your next step is a conversation. You can book a consultation at finishthebookpublishing.com and find out what it would take to move your book forward.